The Galactic Council chamber was the largest room Ambassador Lisa Grant had ever seen. It stretched upward for hundreds of meters, with floating platforms holding representatives from over 200 alien species. Light came from everywhere and nowhere, and the air carried a strange mix of smells that her translator implant could not identify. She stood at the center of the chamber, alone on a small platform that rose from the floor. Around her, thousands of alien eyes watched. Some looked curious. Most looked bored. A few looked at her the way a person might look at an insect that had wandered into their home. Lisa had spent 30 years as a diplomat on Earth. She had negotiated with dictators and terrorists. She had talked nations back from the edge of war. But nothing had prepared her for this moment. Behind her, visible through the massive windows of the chamber, the Earth ship Horizon floated in orbit around the neutral world of Valoran Prime. It was humanity's first interstellar vessel, and it had taken everything Earth had to build it. Compared to the massive alien cruisers that surrounded it, the Horizon looked like a toy. Captain Jack Morrison watched from the visitor gallery above. He was a military man in his late 40s, with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen too many battles. He had commanded the Horizon on its long journey to this place, and he had known from the start that this mission would be difficult, but he had hoped for better than this. High Chancellor Vorath rose from his seat at the top of the chamber. He was a Selvian, one of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. His silver skin caught the light as he moved, and his 4 eyes focused on Lisa with cold interest. "The representative from Earth may speak," Vorath said. His voice echoed through the chamber, translated instantly into every language present. Lisa took a deep breath. "High Chancellor, honored delegates, I come before you today with a plea for help. 3 weeks ago, our long-range sensors detected a massive military buildup in the Morvani Dominion. Over 300 warships are assembling near our outer colonies." She activated her data display, and holographic images appeared in the air above her. Ships, hundreds of them. Warships with weapons that could crack planets. "Our intelligence suggests that an invasion is coming," Lisa continued. "The Morvani have made no secret of their interest in our territory. They have refused all diplomatic contact. We believe they intend to attack within the month." She paused, looking up at the assembled delegates. "Earth is a new member of the galactic community. We have only had faster-than-light travel for 15 years. We do not have the military strength to face the Morvani alone. That is why I am here today, to formally request the protection of the Galactic Peace Accords." The chamber was silent for a moment. Then the laughter started. It began with a single delegate, a reptilian creature from a species Lisa did not recognize. Then others joined in. Within seconds, the sound filled the chamber, bouncing off the walls and crashing down on her like a wave. Lisa stood still and kept her face calm. Inside, her heart was pounding. High Chancellor Vorath raised one hand, and the laughter slowly died. He looked down at Lisa with something that might have been pity, or might have been contempt. "Ambassador Grant," he said, "the Galactic Peace Accords exist to prevent conflicts between established powers. Earth is not an established power. Earth is barely spacefaring. Your species has been traveling between stars for less than 2 decades. He gestured at her holographic display. "These images you show us prove nothing. The Morvani conduct military exercises regularly. What you call an invasion fleet is likely nothing more than a routine patrol." "High Chancellor," Lisa said, keeping her voice steady. "With respect, we have analyzed the Morvani ship movements carefully. This is not a routine patrol. They are positioning for an attack." "You have analyzed?" A new voice cut through the chamber. Lisa turned to see Delegate Crix rising from his platform. He was Morvani himself, a tall reptilian creature covered in dark green scales. His yellow eyes gleamed with amusement. "The humans have analyzed our movements," Crix said, spreading his clawed hands wide. "With what? Their primitive sensors? Their infant technology?" He looked around the chamber, inviting the other delegates to share his joke. Perhaps they read the patterns in their morning food and saw doom approaching. More laughter filled the chamber. Lisa felt her hands tighten into fists at her sides. "Delegate Crix," she said, Do you deny that your government intends to attack Earth's colonies? Crick smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. I deny nothing. I confirm nothing. What I will say is this. If the Morvani Dominion wish to take your little planets, there is nothing you could do to stop us. And there is nothing the Council would do to help you. He turned to address the full chamber. The humans come here begging for protection like frightened children. They have no fleet worth mentioning. They have no weapons that could threaten a real power. They are weak. And weakness invites conquest. This is the natural order of things. Lisa felt the weight of every eye in the chamber pressing down on her. She thought of Earth, so far away. She thought of the colonies, millions of people who had built new lives on distant worlds. She thought of her own family, her children and grandchildren who would grow up in a galaxy that saw them as nothing. She straightened her spine and looked directly at High Chancellor Vorath. The Council has a choice to make, she said. You can honor the principles you claim to believe in, or you can abandon them. But I want every delegate here to understand something. Her voice grew stronger. Earth did not come to this chamber expecting help. We hoped for it, yes. But we have never been a species that depends on hope alone. If the Council will not protect us, we will protect ourselves. Vorath leaned forward slightly. And how will you do that, Ambassador? With your single ship? With your primitive weapons? However, we must, Lisa said. The Morvani think we are weak because we are new to the stars. But humanity has been fighting for survival since before we discovered fire. We have faced extinction 100 times and survived. We will survive this too. The chamber was quiet now. No one was laughing anymore. Vorath studied her for a long moment. Then he sat back and waved one hand dismissively. The Council will vote on Earth's request. All in favor of providing military protection under the peace accords? Lisa watched as platform after platform remained dark. Not a single light appeared. All opposed? The chamber lit up like a sea of stars. Every delegate voted against Earth. The request is denied, Vorath said. This session is concluded. As Lisa walked back toward the exit, Vorath appeared beside her. He had moved silently, faster than she expected. A word of advice, Ambassador, he said quietly. In this galaxy, the strong consume the weak. This is not cruelty. This is simply how things are. Your species should accept its place. Lisa stopped and looked up at him. And what is our place, High Chancellor? At the bottom, Vorath said. Where all young species belong. Lisa held his gaze for 3 heartbeats. Then she turned and walked away without another word. On the horizon, Jack Morrison was already composing a message to Earth Command. It contained only 9 words. Diplomacy has failed. Recommend immediate activation of Protocol Ember. The galaxy had made its choice. Now humanity would make theirs. 3 weeks after the Galactic Council rejected Earth's plea, Admiral Claire Santos stood in the deepest bunker on the moon. Around her, screens covered every wall, showing military installations across the solar system and beyond. All of them were working at full capacity. All of them had been working at full capacity for years. The other officers in the room watched her in silence. They had all seen the reports from the outer colonies. 2 mining stations destroyed, 47 people dead. The Morvani had sent a message, and the message was clear: surrender or die. Admiral Santos was 62 years old. She had spent her entire adult life preparing for this moment, even when no one believed it would ever come. She had gray hair cut short and eyes that never seemed to blink. When she spoke, people listened. Show me the fleet positions, she said. The main screen changed to display a map of human space. Red dots marked the advancing Morvani fleet. Blue dots marked Earth's defenses. The red outnumbered the blue by more than 10 to 1. They think this will be easy, Santos said. They think we are children playing with toys we do not understand. She turned to face the assembled officers. Captain Jack Morrison was there, having returned from the failed diplomatic mission. Lieutenant Sam Reyes stood beside him, the young communications officer who had requested transfer to combat duty. Ambassador Lisa Grant was present as well. Her diplomatic role now shifted to coordinating the war effort. 15 years ago, Santos said, humanity discovered that we were not alone in the universe. A probe from an alien civilization entered our solar system. We studied it. We learned from it. And we understood something that changed everything. She walked to the center of the room. We understood that the galaxy was not a friendly place. We understood that there were powers out there that would see us as nothing more than resources to be taken. And we understood that if we wanted to survive, we would have to be ready. End quote. A new image appeared on the screen. It showed a massive underground facility, stretching for kilometers beneath the surface of Mars. Project Ember, Santos said. For 15 years, we have been building weapons and ships in secret. We let the galaxy see our public fleet, our primitive technology, our harmless exploration vessels. But that was never the real Earth. Dr. Ben Park stepped forward. He was a small man with messy hair and tired eyes, but his mind was one of the sharpest on Earth. He had led the weapons development program since its beginning. The Morvani expect to fight a young species with basic lasers and simple shields, Park said. They have no idea what we have developed. He activated his own display. Images appeared, showing weapons that looked like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Gravity manipulation technology, Park explained. We found the theoretical basis in old research that most galactic species abandoned centuries ago. They thought it was impossible. They were wrong. These weapons create localized singularities, miniature black holes that tear targets apart from the inside. No shield in the galaxy can stop them. More images appeared. Ships that looked nothing like the horizon. These were warships, sleek and deadly, built for one purpose. The Ember-class cruisers, Park continued. Faster than anything the Morvani have. Better armed. Better protected. We have been building them in secret shipyards for 10 years. Jack Morrison studied the images. He had known about Protocol Ember in general terms, but seeing the details was something else entirely. How many ships do we have? He asked. 112 combat-ready vessels, Santos replied. With more coming off the production lines every week. And the Morvani have 300 in their invasion fleet, Morrison said. With thousands more in reserve. Numbers are not everything, Captain. Santos smiled, and there was something cold in it. We have spent 15 years studying every species in the galaxy. We know their weapons, their tactics, their weaknesses. They know nothing about us, except the lies we wanted them to believe. In the corner of the room, Commander Nick Taylor stood with his arms crossed. He was the leader of the Iron Wolves, Earth's elite ground forces unit. His face was covered in scars from battles that most people would never know about. My people are ready, Taylor said. We have been training for this since the beginning. The powered armor, the new weapons, all of it. We are ready to show these aliens what humans can do on the ground. Lisa Grant spoke up. The diplomatic channels are not completely closed. There are species in the Council who privately disagree with the decision. They are afraid of the Morvani. But if we can show them that Earth can fight back, that might change. Then we will show them, Santos said. The Morvani fleet is heading for New Geneva, our largest outer colony. That is where we will make our stand. She looked around the room at each person present. I will not pretend this will be easy. The Morvani are a powerful enemy, and they have conquered dozens of species before us. But humanity has one advantage that no other species in this galaxy has ever had. What is that? Sam Reyes asked. Santos turned to look at him. We have been preparing for war from the moment we knew we were not alone. Every other species that faced the Morvani was caught by surprise. They tried to negotiate. They tried to surrender. They tried to run. None of it worked. She walked to the main screen and placed her hand against it. The image changed to show Earth. Blue and green and beautiful, floating in the darkness of space. We will not negotiate, Santos said. We will not surrender. We will not run. We will fight with everything we have. And we will make the Morvani regret the day they decided to attack humanity. The room was silent. Then, one by one, The officers nodded. They understood what was coming. They understood what it would cost. And they were ready. That night, the Morvani Grand Fleet of 300 warships crossed into human space. They broadcast a message on all frequencies, demanding immediate surrender. The message promised mercy for those who submitted, and death for those who resisted. Admiral Santos listened to the message in her command center. When it finished, she turned to her communications officer. "Send a response," she said. "What should I say, Admiral?" Santos smiled. "Nothing. Say nothing at all. Let them wonder." Then she gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. "Activate the orbital defense platforms. Bring the Ember Fleet to full combat readiness. And someone get me Captain Morrison. He is going to lead the first strike." Outside, in the darkness of space, defense platforms that had been hidden for years began to power up. Their weapon systems came online. Their targeting computers locked onto the approaching enemy fleet. The Morvani had expected to find a helpless world waiting to be conquered. Instead, they found something else entirely. They found humanity, awake and angry, and ready for war. The fire was about to begin. The colony of New Geneva floated in the darkness of space, a green and blue world that had been home to 3 million humans for the past decade. It was the largest of Earth's outer colonies, and it was directly in the path of the Morvani invasion fleet. Commander Vrax stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the planet grow larger on his view screen. He was one of the most decorated officers in the Morvani Dominion, having conquered 6 worlds and destroyed countless enemies. This mission, he believed, would be the easiest of his career. "Scan the human defenses," he ordered. His tactical officer worked the controls. "I am detecting 20 Earth vessels in orbit around the planet, Commander. Their weapon signatures match the data in our records. Basic laser systems, primitive kinetic weapons, minimal shielding." Vrax smiled, showing his sharp teeth. 20 ships against 300. The humans are either brave or stupid. Perhaps both, Commander. It does not matter. Vrax settled back in his command chair. "Signal the fleet. Standard conquest formation. We will crush their defenses and begin landing troops within the hour." The Morvani fleet spread out as it approached New Geneva. 300 warships moving in perfect coordination, their weapons charged and ready. They had done this many times before. They expected no surprises. They were wrong. On the bridge of the horizon, Captain Jack Morrison watched the enemy approach. His ship had been upgraded with the new Ember technology, transformed from an exploration vessel into a weapon of war. Around him, 19 other Earth ships waited in formation. "All ships report ready, Captain," Lieutenant Sam Reyes said from his station. "The defense platforms are locked on target. The Ember weapons are charged." Morrison nodded. He thought of his family back on Earth. He thought of the millions of colonists on the planet below. He thought of the council chamber, where the galaxy had laughed at humanity's plea for help. "Open a channel to all ships," he said. "Channel open, sir." Morrison spoke calmly. "This is Captain Morrison. The enemy fleet is approaching. They expect us to be weak. They expect us to be afraid. They expect this to be easy." He paused. "They are about to learn how wrong they are. All ships, engage on my signal. Show them what humanity can do." The Morvani fleet came closer. 50,000 kilometers, 40,000, 30,000. Commander Vrax leaned forward in his chair. "Why are they not retreating? They must know they cannot win." "Unknown, Commander. Perhaps they wish to die with honor." "Humans have no honor," Vrax said. "They are merely too stupid to understand their situation. All ships, open fire." The Morvani fleet unleashed its weapons. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human ships. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. And then something impossible happened. The human ships moved. They did not move like any ships Vrax had ever seen. They did not accelerate slowly or turn in wide arcs. They simply were in one place, and then they were in another place, dancing through the Morvani weapons fire like leaves in the wind. Not a single shot hit its target. "What is happening?" Vrax demanded. "How are they doing that?" Before anyone could answer, the human ships returned fire. But they did not use lasers or missiles. They used something else entirely. Space itself seemed to twist around the Morvani vessels. On a dozen ships, sections of hull simply vanished, pulled into points of infinite darkness that appeared and disappeared in heartbeats. Atmosphere and crew were sucked into the void. Reactors destabilized and exploded. In the first 10 seconds of the battle, the Morvani lost 15 ships. Impossible, Vrax whispered. That is gravity manipulation technology. No species has successfully developed gravity weapons in 10,000 years. Commander, we are receiving damage reports from across the fleet. Our shields are having no effect on the human weapons. The battle became chaos. The human ships were everywhere at once, striking and vanishing, reappearing to strike again. The Morvani tried to concentrate their fire, but they could not track targets that moved faster than their sensors could follow. On the ground below, Commander Nick Taylor led his Iron Wolves through the streets of New Geneva's capital city. Morvani landing craft had managed to reach the surface, deploying thousands of troops. The aliens expected to face scared civilians and poorly armed militia. Instead, they found Taylor and his soldiers in powered armor that made them faster, stronger, and deadlier than anything the Morvani had ever encountered. Taylor crashed through a wall and into a group of Morvani soldiers. His armored fist connected with the first alien, sending it flying 20 meters through the air. His other hand raised his weapon and fired, cutting down 3 more in a single burst. Push them back to the landing zone, he ordered through his helmet radio. Protect the evacuation routes. No alien sets foot in the civilian sectors. His soldiers moved like ghosts, appearing from shadows, striking hard, and vanishing again. The Morvani ground forces had expected easy prey. They found death instead. In orbit, the battle continued to turn against the Morvani. 47 of their ships had been destroyed, with dozens more damaged. The human fleet had lost only 2 vessels. Commander Vrax stared at his tactical display in disbelief. This was not possible. This could not be happening. The humans were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to be weak. Commander, his sensor officer called out. I am detecting a human ship approaching our position. It appeared out of nowhere. Our sensors did not track its approach. Vrax looked up just as the horizon materialized directly in front of his flagship, close enough to see with the naked eye. How? He asked. How did they get past our sensors? The answer came seconds later. As human soldiers breached his hull, they moved through his ship like fire through dry grass, cutting down his guards with weapons that burned through Morvani armor like it was paper. Captain Morrison led the assault personally. He fought his way to the bridge, stepping over the bodies of fallen enemies. When he reached the command deck, Commander Vrax was waiting for him, a ceremonial blade in his hand. You will not take me alive, Vrax said. Morrison raised his weapon. I do not want you dead, Commander. I want you to deliver a message. The blade fell from Vrax's hand. He had never faced a human before. He had never looked into human eyes. Now, looking at Morrison, he saw something that he had never expected to see. He saw no fear. He saw no doubt. He saw only cold, absolute determination. What message? Vrax asked. Tell your leaders what happened here today, Morrison said. Tell them that Earth will not fall. Tell them that every ship they send against us will burn. Tell them that humanity does not surrender, does not retreat, and does not die quietly. He stepped closer, until his face was centimeters from the Morvani commander. Tell them that we are coming for them. 1 hour later, the remaining Morvani ships fled the system. They left behind over 100 destroyed vessels and thousands of dead soldiers. The invasion of New Geneva had failed completely. On Valoran Prime, High Chancellor Vorath received the reports with disbelief. He read them 3 times before he accepted that they were real. The primitive humans had just defeated the most powerful military force in the quadrant, and this, Vorath realized, with a cold feeling in his chest, was only the beginning. 6 months had passed since the Battle of New Geneva. The war had spread across a dozen star systems, and humanity was winning. But victory came at a price that Admiral Claire Santos felt every day. She stood in her command center on Earth's moon, reading the latest casualty reports. 8,000 dead in the past month alone. 8,000 sons and daughters, Mothers and fathers, friends and lovers. Each number on the screen represented a life that would never return home. The Morvani had committed their full military strength to the war. Over 2,000 ships had been sent against human space. They had expected to crush Earth within weeks. Instead, they had found themselves trapped in a grinding conflict that was slowly bleeding them dry. But humanity was bleeding too. Captain Grace Miller entered the command center. She was the commander of the warship Defiance, one of the new Ember-class vessels that had turned the tide of the war. She was 35 years old, with dark hair and tired eyes that had seen too much death. "Admiral," she said, "I have the report from our scouts. The Morvani are building something at the Korath shipyard. Something big." Santos turned away from the casualty reports. "Show me." Miller activated the holographic display. Images appeared, showing a massive structure under construction in Morvani space. It was larger than any ship Santos had ever seen, covered in weapons that could reduce a planet to rubble. "A planet killer," Santos said quietly. "They are building a weapon to destroy Earth itself. Our intelligence estimates it will be operational within 2 months," Miller said. "If they finish it, nothing we have can stop it." Santos closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, her expression was calm and determined. "Then we will not let them finish it. Prepare a strike team. I want that shipyard destroyed." On the other side of the galaxy, Ambassador Lisa Grant was having a secret meeting. She sat in a small room on a neutral space station, facing a tall alien with silver skin and 4 eyes. His name was Terran, and he had once served on High Chancellor Vorath's personal staff. Now he was a defector. "Why are you helping us?" Grant asked. Terran looked down at his hands. "I have seen what the Morvani do to the worlds they conquer. I have seen them burn cities and enslave populations. For centuries, the Council has done nothing, because the Morvani were too powerful to challenge." He looked up at her. "But you challenged them. You stood alone against the most feared military in the galaxy, and you did not fall. For the first time in my life, I believe that things can change." "The Council declared neutrality," Grant said. "They are not helping us." "The Council's official position is neutrality, yes. But many species are watching this war with great interest. The Morvani have made enemies across the galaxy. If humanity can show that they can be beaten, truly beaten, others will join you." Grant leaned forward. "What do you know about the planet killer?" Terran's expression grew dark. "I know that Vorath is secretly providing intelligence to the Morvani. He wants humanity to lose. He fears what will happen if you win. A species that can defeat the Morvani in open war would change the balance of power in the entire galaxy. We need allies," Grant said. "We cannot fight the Morvani forever. Our resources are limited." "I have contacts," Terran said. "Species who have suffered under Morvani rule for generations. They will fight alongside you, but they need proof that victory is possible. They need you to win a decisive battle, something that shows the Morvani can be broken." Grant nodded slowly. "Then we will give them proof." 3 days later, Captain Grace Miller led her strike team deep into Morvani space. 15 ships, including the Defiance, moved through enemy territory using stealth technology that made them invisible to sensors. The Korath shipyard appeared on their screens, a massive complex surrounded by hundreds of defense platforms and warships. At its center, the planet killer was taking shape, a weapon of unimaginable destruction. "That is a lot of defenses," Miller's first officer said. "We are not here to fight all of them," Miller replied. "We are here to destroy that weapon and get out." The attack began at midnight station time. The human ships dropped their stealth fields and struck with everything they had. Gravity weapons tore through the defensive platforms. Missiles slammed into the construction gantries around the planet killer. The Morvani responded with overwhelming force. But the human ships were already moving, dancing through the counterattack like they had rehearsed it 1,000 times. Because they had, Miller guided the Defiance through the chaos, her crew working in perfect coordination. They reached the planet killer's exposed reactor core and fired every weapon they had. The explosion lit up the system like a new star. "Target destroyed," her sensor officer reported. "The planet killer is gone." All ships, withdraw, Miller ordered. Maximum speed. Get us out of here. They lost 3 ships in the escape, but the mission was a success. The Morvani's ultimate weapon had been reduced to scattered debris. During the raid, Miller had found something else. Data from the shipyard computers, hastily downloaded in the chaos of battle. When she returned to Earth and analyzed it, she discovered the full scope of the Morvani plan. The planet killer had been only the first step. The Morvani were developing new weapons specifically designed to counter human technology. They had been studying captured human ships and equipment, searching for weaknesses, and they had found one, a component in the gravity weapons that could be neutralized with the right countermeasures. Within 6 months, the Morvani would be able to resist everything that had given humanity its advantage. Dr. Ben Park studied the data with growing concern. They are learning, he said. Adapting. If they deploy these countermeasures, our gravity weapons will be useless against them. Can you develop new weapons? Admiral Santos asked. Yes, but it will take time. Time we may not have. Park paused, thinking. There is another option. A defensive system that could protect Earth from any attack, even without the gravity weapons, but it requires a rare element that exists only in one place. Where? Deep in Morvani space, a mining colony called Vordak Prime. Captain Jack Morrison stepped forward. He had been listening from the back of the room. I will lead the mission, personally. Santos looked at him. You understand the risks? Vordak Prime is in the heart of enemy territory. Getting there and back will be nearly impossible. Morrison smiled, but there was no humor in it. We have done the impossible before. And if we do not get that element, Earth will burn. That is not acceptable. As Morrison prepared for the mission, Ambassador Grant received a message. It was encrypted and came through channels that officially did not exist. She read it 3 times to make sure she understood. A coalition of 7 species was ready to declare their support for humanity. They had watched the war from the shadows, hoping and waiting. Now they were ready to act. But they needed one thing first. They needed humanity to show the galaxy that the Morvani could be beaten completely. Not just one battle. Not just one weapon. They needed humanity to win the war. Grant looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Morrison was flying toward almost certain death. Somewhere out there, the Morvani were building new weapons and gathering new fleets. Somewhere out there, the future of humanity hung in the balance. She had never believed in prayer. But that night, she found herself hoping that whatever power guided the universe was watching over them. Because the hardest part of the war was still to come. Captain Jack Morrison's mission to Vordak Prime was supposed to be suicide. He went anyway, taking a small team of volunteers on a journey deep into the heart of enemy space. They flew through Morvani patrols and past sensor networks, using every trick that 15 years of secret preparation had taught them. Against all odds, they succeeded. The element Dr. Park needed was secured and brought back to Earth. The planetary defense system was completed just in time. 3 days later, the Morvani launched their final attack on Earth. They came with everything they had. Over 800 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled in the history of the Dominion. At its center was a second planet killer, built in secret at a different shipyard. The Morvani had learned from their earlier failure. This time, they would not stop until Earth was ash. Admiral Claire Santos watched the enemy fleet approach on her command screens. Behind her, the officers of Earth Command worked in tense silence. Everyone knew what was at stake. If they failed here, there would be no second chances. The defense system is ready, Admiral. Doctor, Ben Park reported. But I must warn you. We have never tested it at full power. I do not know if it will work. It will work, Santos said. It has to work. The Morvani fleet entered weapons range. The planet killer charged its main cannon. A weapon capable of shattering worlds. Commander Vrax, who had been disgraced after his defeat at New Geneva, had been given one final chance to redeem himself. He stood on the bridge of the planet killer, watching Earth fill his view screen. Fire, he ordered. A beam of pure destruction lanced toward Earth. It was bright enough to blind sensors across the solar system, powerful enough to burn through any defense. It struck the planetary shield that Park had built. For one terrible moment, nothing happened. Then the shield activated fully, and the beam bent, twisted, and reflected back toward the fleet that had fired it. The planet killer exploded, the flagship of the Morvani invasion fleet, along with 50 ships that had been too close to escape, vanished in a storm of fire. Santos allowed herself one small smile. All ships, advance. This ends today. The human fleet moved forward. 150 vessels, joined by something that made the Morvani sensors go wild with confusion. 100 more ships had appeared from nowhere, flying alongside the human formation, ships from 7 different species, the secret allies that Ambassador Grant had been cultivating for months. For the first time in history, the Morvani faced a united enemy. The Battle of Earth was the largest space engagement in recorded galactic history. It lasted 12 hours and cost thousands of lives on both sides. Captain Grace Miller led the assault on the Morvani defensive lines, her defiance cutting through enemy formations like a blade. Commander Nick Taylor, recovered from wounds suffered months earlier, led boarding parties onto Morvani command ships, capturing their admirals one by one. And at the center of it all, Jack Morrison commanded the final push. The Horizon, upgraded and battle-scarred, led the strike that broke through the last Morvani defenses and opened the path to their homeworld. The Battle of Morvan Prime was shorter than anyone expected. With their fleet shattered and their allies abandoning them, the Morvani had nothing left. Their high command surrendered after 6 hours of fighting. The dominion that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia fell in a single day. 1 month later, Ambassador Lisa Grant returned to the Galactic Council chamber. She walked the same path she had walked a year before, when she had come begging for help that was never given. The chamber looked the same. The floating platforms, the strange lights, the representatives from 200 species watching from above, but everything was different now. High Chancellor Vorath was gone. His secret support for the Morvani had been exposed, and he had been removed from office in disgrace. The council now had new leadership, and that leadership had invited humanity to speak. Grant stood at the center of the chamber, alone on her platform. But she was not afraid this time. She was not desperate. She knew exactly what she wanted to say. 1 year ago, I stood in this chamber and asked for help, she began. I told you that Earth faced destruction. I asked you to honor the principles you claimed to believe in. And you laughed at me. The chamber was silent. No one was laughing now. We fought alone. We bled alone. We lost sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, friends and lovers. We paid a price that no one should ever have to pay. Grant's voice was steady. And we won. She paused, looking up at the assembled delegates. Many of them could not meet her eyes. I did not come here today to demand apologies. I did not come here to gloat or to threaten. I came here to offer you something that the galaxy has never had before. The holographic display activated, showing images. Humans and aliens working together on reconstruction projects. Ships from different species flying in formation. Children of a dozen races playing together on a colony world. Humanity believes in something simple, Grant said. We believe that strength should be used to protect the weak, not to exploit them. We believe that different species can work together for common goals. We believe that the galaxy can be better than it has been. She straightened her spine. Earth does not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want to become what the Morvani were. We want partners. We want allies. We want to build something new together. Terran, the Selvian defector who had helped humanity throughout the war, rose from his platform. He had been given a position as official liaison between Earth and the species that had joined their cause. I have seen what humans are capable of, Terran said. I have seen them fight against impossible odds. But more importantly, I have seen them show mercy to defeated enemies. I have seen them rebuild worlds that were not their own. I have seen them risk their lives for species they had never met. He looked around the chamber. The humans showed us that change is possible. Now, it is our turn to choose what kind of galaxy we want to live in. The vote was called. One by one, the platforms lit up. This time, the lights voted in favor of Earth. Not all of them, but enough. More than enough. Earth was accepted as a full member of the Galactic Council. Not out of fear, but out of respect. Afterward, Jack Morrison found Grant standing by the massive windows of the chamber, looking out at the stars. The horizon floated in the distance, surrounded by ships from a dozen different species. "We did it," Grant said quietly. Morrison stood beside her. "We did, but it does not feel like I thought it would." "How does it feel?" Morrison was silent for a moment. "Heavy," he said finally. "All those people who died so we could stand here. I wonder if they would think it was worth it." Grant turned to look at him. "Do you think it was worth it?" Morrison considered the question. He thought of the battles, the losses, the moments when defeat seemed certain. He thought of the galaxy that had laughed at humanity, and then learned to respect them. "I think we did what we had to do," he said. "We answered fire with fire. Not because we wanted to burn the galaxy down, but because some things are worth fighting for." He looked out at the stars. "Our children will grow up in a galaxy where humanity has a voice, where we are not victims waiting to be conquered, where we can help shape what comes next." He nodded slowly. "Yes, I think it was worth it." Far away, on a distant colony world, a young Selvian girl asked her parent a question. She had been watching the news broadcasts about the peace agreements and the new alliances being formed. "Why did the humans fight so hard?" she asked. "They were alone at the beginning. They could have surrendered. Why did they keep fighting?" Her parent looked down at her with gentle eyes. "Because that is what humans do. Are like to into thee. Are like to into. Are like to into thee," the parent said. "They protect what they love. They stand up for what they believe in. They refuse to accept defeat, even when the whole galaxy tells them they cannot win." The child thought about this. "Do you think they will be good allies?" The parent smiled. "I think they will be the best allies the galaxy has ever had. Because now we know what they are made of, and what they are made of is fire." The child looked up at the stars, imagining distant Earth somewhere out there in the darkness, a small world that had refused to die. A species that had answered mockery with determination and threats with courage. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same.